proudest day and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all was said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears, the Rally Podcast, Season 3, Episode 45, and we're going to talk rallying once again. This week we talk about the European Historic Championship and the Northern Ireland Rally Challenge. Its latest round, the finale, is Dogleap stages. We also catch up with some of the gossip from the Central European Rally, and then finally we look ahead to the finale of the BRC this weekend. So jam-packed. I know we keep saying it, Connor, but this is getting sillier and sillier.
Look, listen, any excuse to get talking rallying, we love it, absolutely love it. And to be honest, like, the more every week we start out thinking we'll keep it simple, and we just keep finding more people to talk to.
Yeah, because we keep saying it, but there is so many good things to celebrate. This weekend past there, we had Eamonn Kelly and Gordon Noble won the latest round of the European Historic Rally Championship. They come third overall in the Sanremo Historic Rally, but the first point scorers in the European. And then closer to home, Jason Mitchell took the one in the Dogleap, the return of the Dogleap, back to the forestry again. And then the Central European, Jimmy McMillan was the engineer on Ott Tanak's car. Josh McErlean had a fantastic run. And we always look at that wee different angle. We caught up with his gravel crew, So, and then finally, Matt Cotton joins us to talk BRC. But the European Historics, like, that rally just looks absolutely cracking. The variety of cars, the speed, the commitment, the roads, it just looks fantastic.
Yeah, listen, the stages are absolute crackers. They really, really are. And there's some brilliant video footage out there if anybody gets a chance to go and look for it on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube. But unfortunately, the weather was a bit of an issue in Italy just at the weekend and kind of maybe just dampened things a little bit. But it was some competition out there.
Yeah, I just love the variety of cars. I'm not dissing the Irish historics, but there's so many escorts. And escorts over there are a real novelty. So I just think Stratuses, M3s, Quattros. I would love to see something like that there. That would just be right up my street. But anyway, I think there's no point in us telling you anything more about it. Let's catch up with Eamonn and Gordy. The penultimate round of the historic European Rally Championship was in Sanremo last weekend. And the winners was Eamonn Kelly and Gordon Noble. Eamonn, nice wee one for you last weekend.
Yeah, definitely. Something different, but definitely special. Obviously an iconic event. It's one that obviously is not part of the World Championship anymore, but you see all the old footage of it from the 90s and the 80s and so on. And it's just class to watch. So it definitely feels surreal that we were there on those kind of stages, albeit obviously not the same length, but we were on those roads in similar cars, racing and battling, and then being on a podium too. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, because we've talked before to Martin McCormick and Jimmy Edwards. This European historic. This is not just guys out for a bit of a jolly driving about. This is proper committed, full on attack rallying.
Yeah, it really is. Like, there's guys that are taking it really seriously, especially the lads who are doing the full championship. They're putting a big effort into it, into their cars and their seat time and everything. It's really good, and yeah, the pace is mega. We had to really push on at times and dig deep in it. Actually, say right, we have to really give it a go here if we want to stay ahead. And then you've obviously got the local guys who were not part of the European historics, but doing the overall historic rally, and you've legends there like Gianfranco Cunico, who won the rally when it was around to the World Championship, which is just crazy. And he's 65, I think, and he won the overall historics, and it's unreal seeing guys like him with that speed still at that age. I know that he probably knows every corner and everything, but still, he's still 65. Like, it's incredible. And he wasn't like just beating us. He completely whipped our ass. So and I've no shame in saying it because it's really really impressive. Um, but yeah, it was cool looking back at his EWRC for a nosy and seeing that he was beating the likes of Sins and McRae on stages too back in the day. So yeah, you've got all these guys here, so that makes it such a mega event and a great one to go to in a car like the M3 and push on and set good times. It feels really really good.
Yeah. Gordy, a late call up for yourself, but like I would say it was a very welcome call you got.
Absolutely, yeah, Kevin. Of course, you get the chance to go and do a rally like that with Eamonn. Those stages are iconic. I'd heard of them before. I'd never actually been there. I'd never rallied with Eamonn. I never rallied in one of those BMs before. So there's a whole lot of boxes ticked immediately before I left. Whenever we got there, I think the expectation was as we thought it was going to be. I mean, the roads are difficult. They're twisty. They're up in the sort of mountain. They're little passes, little mountain passes. Your pace notes have to be good. But as Eamonn was saying as well, the competition was really hot. I mean, there's those local guys, boys like a guy called Zippo, who was in that Audi, has been doing that championship for years and years. And for instance, I knew the whole place. A few guys in those Sierras as well. Which the cars are fast, and those drivers are fast. So you had to be alert to try and keep up, not alone keep ahead of them, But certainly, it's been a big plus for me to get that opportunity to go and tick quite a number of boxes there. So really, really good. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned all these international drivers, but look around the service area, it was almost a home from home as well.
There was. I mean, we're really lucky that there were so many people from Ireland there that we were able to talk to. Did feel like home from home, as you say. We had obviously Donna and Rory were there as part of our own team. We knew them well. We could compare notes with them. We didn't want to let them get ahead of us, I can assure you, but we compared notes at times. Early Graham was another guy that we know quite well in another BM in our own team. Ray Breen was there with Damien with him, and obviously they were there. I think that was the third time Ray had attempted the rally, and this time he actually finished. The previous times he hadn't got to the end. It's good, great to see them there. Harl Bunting, another guy that we maybe don't know so well, but he rallied in Ireland 20 years ago, was there, and his little Mini. Unfortunately, he didn't get to the end. But as you say, the service park was quite full of Irish amongst. I don't know. I'm not sure. Eamonn, was there 105 entries in our rally or something like that? So.
It just shows you the strength and depth of historic rallying throughout Europe as well.
It does. I mean, there's nobody there with any sort of car that was a bad one. Everybody's car was immaculate, really, really good. There was anything from Ferraris, Porsches, Stratus, Sierras, all of that stuff, which is all top-notch cars and all really, really well turned out, So it was never going to be easy.
Because even sometimes and it is gradually changing. But here in Ireland, historic rallying has been an escort fest. But in the European events, an escort is nearly almost a novelty.
Yeah, it would certainly be very difficult to go to them rallies in a Mark II or a Mark I or whatever and put in a result. We were chatting about that earlier. I think I would have struggled to been anywhere near the result we had if I was in the Mark II. So yeah, people have the best of the best stuff out there, and it's all good having a good car, but they're all, as Gordy said, well prepared. They're mint. So yeah, you're up against it because these cars need to last, and it's hard to make them last. So they need to be well looked after because the likelihood of them breaking down is obviously significantly higher than a modern rally car. So you tend to have really good teams looking after the cars, no different to Matt's and his guys who are just phenomenal. That the teams there that are making sure cars will last in 2 days and that they're able to be driven hard. That's another thing because you can take out old cars on the like of a deja vu run and you're driving around and you're probably going to get away with little abuse. But these are, as you said, full on events where pace is really, really good. And the cars need to last. So everything there is class. And for a spectator going to watch that, I think it must be really, really good. And the reports from the guys we know that were out watching said it was mega to watch. But yeah, it must bring back memories for people seeing these cars being driven in anger and driven properly too. So yeah, it's unique, and I can see the draw to it.
Yeah, and like you have a great history of the sport. Like obviously through your father, but even before that, you often talk about watching the old videos and DVDs and one thing and another. Like you done a rally in Holland there recently, and you had Rory Kennedy in your ear, and this event you had Gordon Noble in your ear. What's that like? Hearing those iconic voices coming through the heads into your ears.
Yeah, it's cool, definitely, because obviously you grow up when you watching these guys on boards on the likes of RPM and that. So yeah, that's pretty special. I remember obviously the first rally I did with Rory in Wales. Got into one of the first stages and we got into a real fast, committed section, and he nearly got more enthusiastic as the driving got more enthusiastic. And I just thought, yeah, no, I feel like Birdie Fisher here. And, it was pretty cool. So yeah, there's a young part of yourself that's definitely smiling in that moment. But I probably, to be honest, I was probably physically smiling anyway. But yeah, it's really cool, and just the whole atmosphere of everything, the car, the setting, the roads. And I'm not gonna say historic navigator. That's just it's too.
That's corny. That all right?
But yeah, no, it's
That's a good one.
very, very good.
Yeah, because Gordon, it's that whole sense of history, and like Eamon gets that. There's a whole lot of young drivers don't really get the history of the sport, but it's lovely to hear and see that somebody that just really appreciates what's happening and able to take it all in.
Really, it really is. I mean, I think whenever we're in the middle of this, you don't realise how good a time you're actually living in. It's only whenever you have time to reflect on it then that you do realise how good it is. But turning that thing around, it might be a historic car and a historic event and so on. But when we were there, it was our modern day push. We were going as hard as we could with modern day notes, modern day tires, etc. So I mean, the rally is ultimately competitive as well. So.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
For sure. And whenever like the conditions you've seen in the test, there's videos up, and it was Irish weather, and that sort of continued into the weekend as well too. It was a real mixed bag, and maybe did that help to play into your hands a wee bit, that you were a wee bit more familiar with how to work the tires in a conditions like that,
It's pretty simple, and you had to pick wet tires that way. But no, to be honest, the test wasn't even Irish weather. It was really, really heavy rain, like beyond drivable. Like it was creating many landslides off the side of the mountains. Drains were overflowing, and the road was flooded in the majority of places, and it was gradually just getting worse and worse. So I think in the test we got maybe 3 runs.
3 runs, yeah.
And like it was so bad. I remember coming around corners and the standing water was splashing up onto the dash, and the wiper couldn't get it away quick enough. And you weren't round the corner, and you would just say, "Well, look, I'll just put the throttle down, and surely we'll go in the direction we need to go." And then the water clears, and you're facing a rock face. So it's a good example of just okay, time to call this quits, because we weren't learning anything about the car. So it was treacherous weather, and we got flashes of that throughout the week. I think even as far up as Shakedown, it was really heavy rain, and it took us, I don't know what it took us, maybe 15 minutes to walk, like a walk that should have taken about a minute to the service park from the hotel, because of trying to avoid all the floods on the road without getting wet. So yeah, that was really bad, but thankfully the weather, albeit wet on the first day of the rally, it wasn't that bad. It was pretty manageable.
And to be there, like this is the first time you competed against Donna, your father, and equal machinery and all that too. Was there a wee bit of an edge to that as well before the start?
A wee bit. The reason I wanted to go. No, it was great. You feel very lucky to get that opportunity. Not many people do, and it's a unique experience, and one that I'll probably remember forever. And I hope it's not the last time. I'm sure it won't be, but he's never had the chance of racing before, but never in the same car, and we've only ever raced each other on our track at home in the buggies. But I don't think neither of us have both successfully completed a timed lap without rolling. So we've gone off, I've gone off, and we've never seen the true results. So the weekend was good, and of course it just really spurred me on to make sure I came out on top. I had a lot resting on it. But nah, it was good. Yeah, like I said, I'm sure we'll do it again, and I'm sure he'll be hungry to get his pace back up to where it was earlier in the year before the accident they had in Spain. And he'll be trying to maybe lift me on a few more stages.
For sure. And Gordy, he probably didn't tell you that about rolling the buggies before they ever completed a lap. They didn't tell you that before he started, did he?
That's a new one. That's certainly a new one here now tonight, Kevin. That's the first time I heard about the buggies being rolled. But back to the competitive age, I think all of us that turn up at those rallies, none of us there just for the fun or for the sort of sightseeing. We're all there to be as competitive as we can. I know that Eamonn and I kind of looked at other and had a quiet moment to reflect. Never Donagh beat us on a stage on sad Sunday morning sometime. I think he took a second or two out of us somewhere, and we both were reflecting on how and why it had happened. But was very conscious then that we went back out after lunch on Sunday, whenever we got the hardest tire on the road is dry, and Eamonn got a bit of a push on. We certainly were able to I wouldn't say hammer home, but certainly we punched home the ability of the end from that to the end, So
yeah,
it's good.
And you often talk about your great friend Rory Kennedy. Nice to get one over him as well too, I would say.
Absolutely, Kevin. You like to get one over him whenever sort of chance you get. I've been trying to get one over him for 30 years, from navigation rallies until now, and it's never easy to do. But I mean, it's not just Rory and I, but everybody in rallying are friends, and so some ways we're all friendly outside the car service area at controls. We all talk, but as soon as we all get in and get the helmet on, it's, you're looking after us, so you're not looking after them. You're looking to beat everybody else. So we're all friends within the active sport, but none of us like to be second or third, I can assure you. So.
Yeah. And sorry, Eamonn, you want to come in there?
I was going to say, we took great pride in getting out of the hire car on the way home at the airport and asking Dad and Roy to give us a hand carrying all our trophies. And I could see it in Rory's face. He hated every minute of it. That's a moment I'll remember.
So I suppose then, Eamonn, maybe to wrap up, this, you sampled this. This is your few events now in the historic car. Is it with it your appetite? Was it something you'd like to do a wee bit more of?
Yeah, well, look, I've been very lucky to do them two events, and it was thanks to Michael Cullen. He gave me his car and was very willing to give it to me, which I'm very, very lucky to get that opportunity. And it's a top car, and he's very trusting to give it to a 25-year-old. So yeah, it was unreal opportunity. And then JKC up in Northern Ireland gave some contribution towards it as well. So yeah, it was great. It wasn't necessarily part of my plans for the year, but yeah, it's opened my eyes even more to how good it is, and I'd certainly go looking for an opportunity next year again to do something similar. But yeah, no, there's zero doubt about it. Like, it'll not be the last time I'm out in a car like that if I can get my hands on it. They're just unreal. It's a credit to Mats and the way he builds and runs them. They're such a joy to drive, and it's not a surprise to see so many of them coming into the country, because once someone drives it, I think they realise how well built it is and how easy it is to drive. And obviously it's a super competitive car in the historic class. But yeah, it's one of them cars. It's just like a raw feeling of driving. It's all mechanical. It's all raw is the only word to describe it. And you can still drive it on the ragged edge, though, especially when the tarmac dries out and you've got all the grip and you can use the car properly. It's just such a great sensation and such a great buzz. But yeah, it's magic. That's the only way to describe it. So I'll definitely be out again if I get the opportunity.
And Eamonn, I suppose the very last word is you had a superstar congratulating you at the finish as well.
Yeah, I got a really nice message from Ari Batman congratulating me and Gordy on the win, which was mega. He's great. He always reaches out after a lot of events, which is really good of him. And he was also really interested to know how Dad ended up down in ninth, but he was asking if he had left his handbrake on. So that was quite a question from him too. So, but yeah, we're all going to laugh out of that, and also going to laugh out of, obviously, throughout the years I've been referred to as Donna's son, up until probably last year, and mainly in Ireland as well. And it was lovely when he went over the podium that they referred to him as Papa Kelly. Another small win for me. And I won't forget that, and I'll make sure to call him Papa Kelly from now on.
That was as good as the one in the historic European.
It's all I need.
So thanks there to Eamon and Gordy, and that was some story there at the very end there. I just think that's great crack. And then also last weekend we had then the Dogleap stages returning to the forests of Cam and Springwell. We've said it before and we'll no doubt say it again. Absolutely classic stages, and great to see Jason Mitchell back as well and taking the one. Connor, probably unfair to say he had it easy, but obviously Jordan Hone and Vivian Hummel pushed him hard, and unfortunately Rank Caldwell went out quite early.
Yeah, listen, Jason had a good run, all right, but I wouldn't say he necessarily had it all his own way. And as you say, Jordan was pushing. Vivian Hamill again, strong result, only for a puncture at the end, just kind of pushed him back to third. Mm-hmm. And those were a couple of cracking stages. They really didn't disappoint, in Cam and Spring Forest. They really were, super stages. Yeah,
because anybody that watches any of the end cars is up there, they just see how good those stages are. And they're only going to get better, if they're used again next year. There's a kind of a green thing, sheen on it, kind of mucky thing. That's cleaned off now, and them stages are just going to get better and better. And the two-wheel drive, the lad had done it again. Shane McGurr and Denver Rafferty taking the one, and that helped Denver secure the overall at Northern Ireland Co-Drivers Award. Not even the two-wheel drive, the overall. That's a fantastic result for those two guys. Shane and Denver had a great year, and just a real hot tip to them there, they keep plugging away steady Eddie and doing their thing, but that's no steady Eddie either, they do push on hard too, so fair play to them. Great rally, great success altogether, but Jason Mitchell's going to tell us more about it. Jason Mitchell, the winner of the Maiden City Dogleap stages on Saturday. Sounds good, Jason.
Yeah, Kevin, now we like that sort of introduction there now, Kevin, to be honest. Another good day in the gravel. Kevin, a real enjoyable day, and I would say a fairly chilled out, controlled day for myself, which is not probably normal for myself, because I even thought rolling into the event, I thought I didn't just feel totally, we're still fairly busy at work, and I was going and I wasn't going, I was going and I wasn't going, and then I just decided, and I think it was Wednesday, on Wednesday I decided, look, I need to go and get another event done. I was toying with the idea of going over to the Cambrian the week before, and I thought this would be a good way to get me back up to speed and get over to the Cambrian, but unfortunately the Cambrian's not going to happen, but hey, it was great to go to that rally on Saturday and get settled in fairly quickly, I would say, Kevin.
Yeah, because with you, work always has to come first. That is, that's why you go rallying. That's how you can afford to go rallying. Yeah. The rallying has to take the back seat whenever work comes. And unfortunately, that's why you weren't able to do the Lakeland, the Bushwhacker. I'm sure as much as you'd want to be there, sometimes you have to just rally and has to go. It'll still be there next year.
Well, Kevin, I suppose that is the Lakeland. I love the Lakeland. I would say that big stage in the Lakeland, I have to say, it's probably one of the most enjoyable stages. But the Bushwhacker for me is, the one, do you know what I mean? And I make no secret of that. And for me not getting that, especially, was definitely not easy. Sitting at home, I couldn't even look at the times. I couldn't even watch what was going on it. I couldn't even go on the pace. Sorry, Killian, but I couldn't even go on the pace, because it was only every time I heard anything about it, it was annoying me. So it was disappointing not to get there. But as everyone knows, Kevin, if we don't get the work side right, there is no rallying at all. So something that we have to sacrifice all the time, and know when we need to sacrifice it to keep everything right. Yeah. So that's unfortunately that was a must. But here, the big ones next year. I think it's the 50th anniversary. So
Yes.
I think I'd say there'll be quite a few gunning for that one. So there will.
That's for sure. And then, you know, like Maiden City has, you know, stepped back up to the plate. First time back in the forestry on, you know, a good few years. And I think a deserve to be back because they put on a fantastic event there on Saturday.
Hi, brilliant event, Kevin. You know, I've the Sunday night before, because I knew I wasn't going to get much time during the week, and the Sunday night, or last Sunday, Sunday week ago, I said I better sit down as I write the notes off the DVD, you know, and I said I better sit down Sunday night when I've got a piece to write the notes. And, you know, the whole Sunday I was saying I'm too busy to go to the rally. I wrote the notes off the DVD on Sunday night, and I said to myself, I was all revved up. I says, I'm definitely going. And looked at the stages, I knew they were slippy looking, but I said to myself, I'm definitely going. Woke up Monday morning, went to the yard, pile of pressure, and I says, oh, gee, I can't go again. And then just during the week, I said, no, look, yeah, sometimes you just have to make time. And Kevin, I really have to say there are, like I always hear people talking about Cam and Springwell and all, you know, but I don't, you know, you know, some you don't really know until you get into them stages. Like, and I can only say that the rally overall was first class and really well done. But like the stages makes any rally. Do you know what I mean? And the thing for me that made it really good was, you know, that you do genuinely have everything in them stages. You know, you had, like, it was slippy because it hasn't been used in a long time, and I think the stages will get better and, you know, much better if they can run it again going forward. But you had the slippy stuff that would really catch you out. You had the flowing stuff where you just had to stay controlled and make sure that you were just clean and tidy, and then you had the really committed stuff there, like the end of that big stage or Cam stage. Like, so, you know, you nearly had three different driving styles or three different temperaments. You know, three different temperaments. You know, while you're going through the stages, you know, whereas, you know, where we all love the bushwhacker, you know, it's, you know, the bushwhacker's the same more or less the whole way through it, you know. Whereas I found myself, you know, having to nearly change my temperament. You know, like it was quite funny when you come to that square right heading for the finish in Cam, like, you just you take that square right and you say, right, boy, we're ready to go now. You know, you have to bury it the whole way and just say to myself, don't be doubting yourself here, you know. So, no, brilliant, Kevin, brilliant.
Yeah, and like for you that has always, you know, said that you feel more comfortable on gravel, and like to be able to bring your A game, like, well, first of all, you had to bring your A game because, you know, unfortunately Ryan Caldwell went out early, but you were still pushed hard by Jordan and Vivian there as well. Yeah,
100%, Kevin. You know, and like, if I be really honest, Kevin, the first two stages, you know, I genuinely, I thought, you know, like, I wouldn't say I was driving bad, Benny, you know, but I was like having, you know, I wouldn't say spins were half spins, but, you know, I was over-rotating far too much, and I was over-hitting too much. I was turning on the corners too early. I was braking too early, and my head going through the stages. There's a second or two gone. There's a second or two gone. I says, you know, get yourself together here, Jason. But in all fairness, you know, when I got to the end of the stage, you know, the time was thereabouts. You know, it was good enough. Like, the times were good enough. And I suppose, like, when you're on a stage so slippy, you have to realise everybody has dramas. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't, you know, it's maybe just not always down to your driving. It can be that, you know, we all have these wee spun or half spuns or where we just completely lost our momentum, you know, because that's the way I felt. I felt that we were losing too much momentum, you know, through the stage. And, you know, even wee things people, and I know they're only trying to help you, they're coming up and say to you, oh, you need to watch that bit there because it's like glass and it's going to be that bit. And I remember coming on the chicane, I would say I braked 60 yards or too early, you know what I mean? And you can't even get the car to turn on because you're going under it that slow, you know, and just stuff like that, you know. And I just sort of thought, you know, I get to the end here, I'm not going to like what I hear, you know, but hey, it just sort of set us up, you know, Kevin, and, you know, like, I don't know how to explain it, but with the pressure of work on the night before, I didn't sleep well, and I didn't know if it was, just putting a bit of pressure of the rally on me, and on top of it. And I thought when I went into the rally, when I got into the car that morning, I just got into the car, and I just got really relaxed. I just, I went out. Normally, you get into the car and you get fired up for the first stage, and I got into the car and I seemed to relax, and that's the way it was all day. I just felt I was able to stay really controlled. The rest of the day. We got on the second loop, and Keelan, which done a great job on Saturday. And I turned around to Keelan after the first, or when we were driving out the second loop, and I said, "Keelan, what do you think? Do you hear?" And he goes, "Look, I don't do nothing too mad because they'll be still slippy in here. Do you know what I mean? Just keep going, see where we end up. And then I suppose Jordan, he took 0.9 out of us. Not a massive amount of time, but he was just letting us know.
He was there.
He was there, and I went on to stage 4 and I turned the wick up a wee bit again, just to make sure that we, just to give us a wee breathing space, and hey, Kevin, it was just a really nice day in the car, I have to say. It was just a really chilled out, enjoyable day, and
because there was no pressure on you championship wise, or you weren't having to drive for points or anything like that. It was just go out and enjoy yourself in the car.
Yeah, and I suppose everybody, I feel this year, I don't know why, but not every day felt like that. I felt maybe, I don't know what way I was feeling in the car days, but it sort of made me review maybe why I, maybe put myself under too much pressure or overthink a rally, where I went on there completely, I would say underprepared, I would say, to be honest. But maybe I wouldn't say underprepared is a good way to go on their rally, but maybe with a mindset that, the world, just go and do your thing, do you know what I mean?
Do your own thing and let everyone else take after itself kind of thing then, yeah. So.
Yeah. So, but Kevin, I think, look, to be fair to Maiden City, when you've Shackleton there for service, or
for the headquarters kind of the whole event then, yeah.
For the headquarters, for the headquarters, and if it was a well run, chilled out day, and as we all know, Vivian and Jordan, and unlucky for Ryan, but everybody's just there for the day's crack, and it just sort of sets a tone as well, I suppose.
Yeah. Right, and even before you get into the car that Niall and Isaac and those guys have put a car in below you that's going to allow you to go out and express yourself and allow you to enjoy yourself.
Yeah, and that's what, Kevin, when you get in there, look, and you feel like you're the boss, you normally don't have too much to fear. When you get in that car, the car's right, and you just get in, all you have to do is drive, and just back yourself. It's when it's just down to you, Kevin, the job is a lot easier, and that's fairness to all the boys. Kevin, Niall, Isaac, and all the boys that are in behind. Because I think sometimes they want to win more than me. Do you know what I mean? As much as I love winning, but I know they really love winning. Do you know what I mean? And it is nice to reward a team with a win, Kevin, because the boys, it's their job, but as we all know about Niall and a lot of them there, that's their passion as much as
it's more than a job to them, isn't it? It's what they love. It's what gets them up in the morning.
I think the drivers have a competition. I think the mechanics have their own competition going on in the background. I will tell the truth, but anyway. But no, a very, very, very enjoyable day, and can't say any more than what brilliant stages, Kevin. I genuinely heard about all this about Cam and some of the greatest stages in the country, and I would definitely be one day. I'd definitely be one to second that now, so I would definitely recommend that rally to anybody. I think the talk is that they are going to try and run it next year again.
Yeah, because we had Ian Conley on the COC on last week, and he says this is just the start. This is was kind of getting a feel for the thing. Understand how forestry rallying works again, and they have great plans. It would be great to see it part of I know this year it was part of the Northern Ireland Forestry Challenge, but it's at least, you know, deserving of a place maybe in the Irish forestry, if not even, could even set their sights higher.
100%, Kevin. Like I don't know of anybody. I don't know of anybody in Ireland or anywhere would complain about them stages, Kevin. Like, and you know, as a driver, you know, there is corners that we all love driving. Do you know what I mean? There's corners and there's bits of rallies. You know, there's bits of, you know, like the Cam. We all talk about the roller coaster there to the end. You know, like that's some sensation going through that, but. You know, you had a lot of big, long, sweeping corners, you know, Kevin, even there where the two stages nearly join and Cam, you know, and they're big sweeping corners. And you're coming down there and you follow a pipe and you just banging it down the gears and setting her out and just, you're going around up there like one of them drift cars, you know, the whole way around, you know, maybe for 100 yards and her, you weld it and her just drifting the whole way around, you know, and it's just, the other sort of corners that really gives you a buzz as the driver, you know, you just sit on there and just go, that's unreal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't get too carried away here. But you know, you're throwing her, and you know, I know it was difficult, Kevin. Like it was difficult because it was very, you know, the stages haven't been used in 14 years, and like when you watch the DVD, like the grass, the roads were all grass. Do you know what I mean? And like when you go down, you know, it was extra slippy. Like I, you know, from a driver's point of view, like I was pulling the handbrake 30 yards before the corners at times. Do you know what I mean? And just setting her up and letting her slide the whole way to the corner, you know, because and then you're just punting her when you sort of could get anywhere near the apex to try and get the drive out of it, you know. And it was just a really nice feeling, you know, in the car, just letting her drift that long, just setting her up, because it wasn't one of them places where you could just drive on the corner and turn and go. You know what I mean? It was, you had to set her up because you needed the wheels fighting towards the inside of the corner for you all the time because it was so slippy. So, but no, really good, Kevin. Really good.
You know, if hopefully, you know, the plan is for it to run again next year. You know, that green kind of that will be scrubbed off it, and those stages are just going to get better and better and better.
And faster, Kevin. You know, I'd say once we get rid of that now this year, you know, next year, you know, there'll not be the same growth on it, and you know, obviously, you know, there'll be just that but cleaner, Kevin, just to let us really, you know, attack them. Then, you know, there was, you know, the first loop and the second loop, you know, the first loop and, you know, like, you know, to be fair to everyone, you know, road position, like I was third in the road, Gavin, and I was third in the road, and you know, it was very sloppy there, you know, and for Ryan and Vivian in front of me, you know, I'm sure it was really sloppy for them, but in fairness, even to the ones behind me, it would have been sloppy for them as well, you know, because there was, you know, there was no grip. Like you know, there was that much, you know, I would say, you know, clabber there. You never even seen anything because it was all sort of, you know, clabbery and places, but not. I still didn't take anything away from it. It's just another challenge as a driver. You know, it's a wee bit like, you know, you just have to find a way of working with that.
And like, you know, this then, you know, like probably that wrap up the year for you now. Like you have to look back over the year with like, and to be fairly happy with what your performances was this year. I know you still probably feel that you have a wee bit more to unlock on the tar, but gravel you have been exceptional, and on the tar it's, you know, you've narrowed the gap to the top guys now.
I have, Kevin, you know, I have, and I suppose I keep saying this, you know, but it is my type of me. But yeah, there's definitely a genuine difference, me as a person in a car and gravel, and there is in the tarmac. And you know, it has been said to me a number of times, even in the last day or so, that you know, maybe I'd go and do the, you know, gravel championship, or you know, go to the BRC, because you know you have a mixture of both, which is very tempting, or the BTR. I think, you know, but which is very tempting. But as I wouldn't maybe just say a total sportsman, but as a sportsman, you know, Kevin, I nearly had more for my weakness than for my strength, you know, and I think as a driver, a good driver, Kevin, I keep saying this, a good driver should be able to drive anything, do you know what I mean? And any condition, do you know what I mean? And for me, I would say if there's something missing, and I would say it's missing with me and tarmac. I feel that I could do it on tarmac, but I need to release something which I haven't found yet, Kevin, and it kills me saying it, but there's something that I have to try and find to give me that freedom that I feel in gravel. I know gravel is that way, but there's I like Kevin. If I was, and I would say we Kilman back me up here. Like once I got over the first 2 stages, and like it was just like. I was just sitting in there, like I was, it was just like it was.
You're in your natural habitat.
I didn't have to think, Kevin. I just dropped, you know what I mean? Whereas I feel like in tarmac, I'm all the time thinking and fighting with myself, and I'm a 2, you know what I mean? This, that, and other, and hey, it does frustrate me. But I think for next year, I think one thing that I'm going to do is not a madman for balls of testing, but I think I'm definitely going to change the way I set myself up for tire, and there's definitely going to be a couple of 100 Ks of testing next year before I start, because I need to find what's going on here, because I really want to try and sort that out.
Yeah, because it's a very, very small fraction. Like, and like this is the crazy thing about rallying. It's that, like, it's that hesitation, it's that delay of putting down the accelerator or braking that wee bit early, and it's nothing, but it all adds up at the end of the stage.
And it does, Kevin. And like, when I watched Maiden car at the weekend, and Matt Edwards and Niall McShea and people like that would say, steering inputs, and you look at your steering inputs on the steering wheel on your stage. Like when I look at my own car on Saturday, Kevin, like my steering inputs, apart from maybe setting her up for them sloppy corners, my steering inputs were small, do you know what I mean? And for a sloppy rally, to me, was telling me once I got it sort of right, after the first few stages, it was just, I was always going forward. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't over-rotating like the first couple. You know what I mean? I was just always going forward. And like I think on tarmac, when I analyse what was going on in tarmac a wee bit, I'm not using the full of the road. Not over, too much inputs at times, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's a fear factor that you're leaving yourself a bit of room that if she drifts on you and all these sorts of things. So I would say, and then just that whole feeling, just I suppose getting that sorted, and hopefully we can get that sort of feeling in tarmac.
Yeah, great to hear from Jason. And looking back at the video and the photos that come out of the Dogleap rally, like gorgeous autumnal colours, cars in the air, just looked fantastic. It really, really did.
That's for sure. And then, also last weekend, the Central European, the rally, the penultimate round is the WRC, and that a lot of twists and turns and a lot of autumnal colours there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Again, some gorgeous photos coming out of there. Yeah, I think we had expected very much. It looked like the Drivers' Championship was going to be wrapped up, and that didn't happen. Neville had his issues, a couple of spins, and he wasn't the only one. Like there was, we saw Mickelson get caught out, we saw OJ get caught out, Piari get caught out. They really did have a lot of drama in such a compact event.
Yeah, like this was the kind of the one that Neville was going to make the difference, and it just shows you how fine a margins it is. A couple of spins just dropped him that far enough away that he just couldn't get enough points on the board.
Yeah, that was it. I suppose his biggest rival was his teammate, Ott. He needed to be clear of Ott, and that just wasn't able to do it with Ott taking the win, especially with OJ coming under pressure.
Yeah, and I think again, a third time this year, OJ dropped the ball. Like it's so unexpected.
Well, yeah, like we're looking at what 8 times world champion. We don't, it's a surprise anytime OJ makes a mistake, and yes, he crashed out of the event, but he had also gone off the road on the first stage of the morning. Again, something we wouldn't have expected from him. So, it's funny, even the top talented guys can come under pressure.
Yeah, that's for sure, But like Ott taking the one, like that, it's kept the championship alive. Great to see for him as well.
Yeah, look, it brings everything down to the wire. We've discussed that with other championships. We love that. The fact that now they're going to go to Japan with both the manufacturers and the drivers' championships still to be decided. It keeps it interesting, keeps it exciting. And look, as we saw in Japan last year, anything can happen. We saw Danny Sordo, Adrian Formo, and Taka all off on the same corner in very wet conditions. So, you just don't know what's going to happen.
That's for sure, and we heard a lot of talk coming out from last weekend about the gravel crew and the differences they made, and that was kind of our thinking behind. We got Desi, Henry, and Shane Byrne on to talk about the job they were doing for Josh McErlean and Fuzzy, and it's so vital the job they do as well.
Yeah, look, it really was key, and I suppose particularly. Central Europeans, one of the few tarmac rallies that the safety note crews are involved in, mainly because of the amount of cuts, the amount of pollution that get pulled up onto the stages. And, you had some of those stages were run 3 times, so they really did have a lot of pollution on them. But it's vital and it's critical, the work that they do. And they put in some long, long hours as well. But I suppose that was proven when Ogier himself crashed out of the event on Sunday and referenced the fact that the stage he crashed out on was the one the gravel note crew weren't permitted on because they didn't have enough turnaround time to run the stages and have the gravel note crew in them because the stages were going to, were being run twice on the Sunday.
Yeah, it just shows you how vital every cog in the gearbox is for this whole machine.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is, like genuinely. But before we talk to Desi and Shane, I had a chance to catch up with Jamie McMillan, who's the chief engineer for Ott Tanak. Jamie, second win of the season for Ott and Central European Rally. I'd nearly go as far as to say Ott's drive was maybe overlooked. The quality of the drive, like he really did put it up to Ogier, and it was Ogier that cracked under pressure. But with all the focus on, I suppose, the dramas of between Neuville having his spins and Payari Ganite and Ogier Ganite and Nicholson as well. Did Tanak maybe get lost in all of that?
I think that's probably a fair judge of things that went on over the weekend. There was a lot of drama elsewhere, and to be honest, Ott was consistently thereabouts. He didn't have so many stage wins. I think we won 2 over the weekend, but he was never far away from the pace. And ultimately, when you're going that close to the limit, some of the guys can make mistakes. It's only natural, and for Ott to have a clean weekend, and to be honest, we had no real big dramas. He never even went off the road, no spins, nothing. So kept it nice and clean, and in the end, sort of capitalized on a few of the other guys having some of their issues. But ultimately, he was putting the pressure on, right from the start, and also from the split times. I think, like you said, it sort of went overlooked a bit because the stage times ultimately weren't there. But on certainly Friday, we could see from the split times that he was really on the pace of the other guys. He was just dropping time in one section on each pass of the stage. So if it wasn't for those small sections on the first and second pass, we knew we would have been right, sort of joint or in the lead of the rally. So we knew even from that early on in the weekend that the pace was clearly there, and it was just a matter of trying to put it all together over the weekend.
And the talk from the team getting into the final 2 rounds, both asphalt, Central European, and then obviously the last round, which will be Japan. But the talk from the team was that, tarmac or asphalt's going to suit the car better. So what is it about this particular version of the i20, that is better suited to tarmac?
I think it's a full package, really, and you've sort of seen it over the past few years. The car has always been quick on this surface, and Thierry was able to prove that in Monte Carlo, and even in Croatia, the pace wasn't bad, certainly from Thierry's side. So it took out a little bit of time to get comfortable back in the car and in tarmac. And I think we made some good progress in the pre-event test as well, sort of fine-tuning the car to suit what he needed rather than sort of what the car had previously been set up to. So it went a little bit away from what Thierry was driving, but it put it into a good window for Ott, and ultimately it's it's a little bit, the full package of, between differentials, the engine, the response, the grip levels as well. So Central Europe was a little bit smoother than Croatia too, and obviously very different to Monte Carlo. So yeah, it worked well, and we've seen that traditionally the last couple of years we've been, Hyundai have been thereabouts on tarmac. So yeah, we're hoping for a similar sort of performance in Japan now as well.
And going into the rally, having done your own engineers recce, and obviously sitting down with Ott, what was the strategy for the weekend?
So the Czech stages on Friday were a bit bumpier, and there was a bit more cutting in those, but certainly generally over the weekend there was a lot less cutting than last year. So you didn't see the car really going deep into the cuts, and that you could also see that in the stage time. So the guys early in the road weren't taking such big chunks of time from the guys running later, like in 2023. So that was an aspect that we had to consider going into the weekend. And then the Austrian and German stages on Saturday and Sunday were generally cleaner and smoother anyway, a little bit higher speed as well, and they had even more of the anti-cuts. So Friday maybe wasn't as crucial as it would have been in the past, and also the road position didn't play as much of a factor in the overall performance. But it was a little bit about seeing how the weekend went as well. You never really know until you've got the first stage time under your belt where you're gonna, how things are gonna shape up. So even from Thursday night, the first super special in the dark, the pace wasn't bad. So we were able to then sort of plan accordingly, and we knew where we could push a little bit more. And ultimately, it's the same with everybody. You want to get a good position for Saturday night to lock in some points, and then that's when the real sort of thinking points come as well. But if there's anything you can do strategy wise with your three cars to try and bank some points, and the other guys can push for Super Sunday points. So yeah, I think the strategy develops over the weekend, but there was no sort of clear instruction from the outset. Ultimately, since Ott went off in Finland and retired, it's been a matter of taking one rally at a time and really trying to maximize and get some more wins in the board, and then just let the championship take care of itself and see where we are further down the line. And yeah, we've been a little bit unfortunate, certainly in Greece with the two punctures, so that dropped us back a little bit. We could have taken, okay, in the end it's still Hyundai against Hyundai, but we could have taken or been in a slightly better position relative to Thierry. But it's nice now that the championship will be decided from the driver's side between Thierry and Ott going into the final round. And
it might have surprised quite a few people that even at this late stage there didn't seem to be any hint of team orders at all between Ott and Thierry with regard to both championships. I suppose, what's the thing behind that? Is that to take the pressure off, or is it just that's not how the team operates?
No, I mean, Hyundai in the past, they've always put sort of strategy and that, whatever points we can take, they put that as priority number one. So they're not scared to do team orders when it suits the greater goal. But I don't think there was a reason to do it in this event either. Ott and Thierry had to find their own rhythm, find their own pace. Unfortunately, Andreas going off the road, that meant there was a bit more pressure on the other guys. So it was still all about managing risks, and from the outset, the guys were, they were told, look at the bigger picture as well. For both of their championships, it doesn't do any good for anybody going off the road. So both individually and collectively, they had to be in a good pace, but not taking unnecessary risks. So, after Ott really came out of the blocks firing on Saturday morning, and taking 4 seconds out of everybody, I think that was a time where some of the guys further up or the management level were thinking Ott was maybe taking a few too many risks. So he was reminded that he still had to bring the car home, and it wasn't win at all costs. That doesn't do anybody any good at this point. And we were able to see that later on in the day with Andreas going off. I think if a double retirement at this point in the season is really going to swing the manufacturers one way or the other. We've seen that in Finland as well with the two Toyotas retiring on Sunday. So it's really important to get the guys to the finish and also to try and tie up both championships.
And that pace around the team orders, do you think that will change going into Japan, or will it stay the same?
I guess that's up to Cyril and the guys up there to sort of put their heads together and have a think. From my side, to get a good score for the team, the guys need to go fast anyway. The tutors are going to come out of the blocks, really on it there. They're going to want to, not only for the home event, but they need to take, quite a big sort of point swing to win the championship. So they're certainly not going to be holding anything back. So if we want to be thereabouts, then we can't go in there just thinking to drive around and finish. So and it's a little bit different dynamic this year as well, with getting some points on the Saturday evening too. So you can sort of split your rally into two and really go out and attack to try and get as many points for Saturday evening, and then see how it's looking overall, and whether somebody can drive a little bit more carefully or reserved on Sunday. So yeah, I'm sure they'll be thinking about all those sorts of scenarios and putting a few ideas together to see how the weekend's going. But ultimately, the key thing as well is just reliability from the car side and making sure that besides the driving mistakes, that all three cars are reliable and will get around to the finish too without any issues.
And one of the comments from White at its stage end, I think it was on the Friday early on, he was looking for something a bit more racy from the car. Like, is that more top end speed he's looking for? Or is it more about settings?
No, it's more about the setup. I mean, the top end speed, so it's dependent on your gear ratios there and how quickly you're going to achieve that. So that's all sort of locked in from the homologation side. So there's not much we can, we don't have any tools to play with that during the event so easily. So I mean, the racy setup is generally, they'll be talking about a stiffer setting, certainly from the springs and roll bars and damper clicks, which we can all do even in the remote services that were there on Friday. We could adjust those sorts of things, and on the road section himself, he can do the roll bar position changes or damper clicks. So generally, when they're talking about a more racy car, it'll be that, those sorts of tools that we can play with. And okay, the differentials come into it a little bit as well there. If it's drier, you'll want something, it's a slightly different setup than if it's mixed and more tricky conditions. And also with the cuts, you need a slightly different setup. So from Friday into Saturday, we were constantly sort of tweaking things. No big changes, to be fair, but we were just fine tuning the balance to try and get something that was more to his liking for the weekend.
And we're watching Rally TV on the Sunday during the power stage, and there's a clip of you in the operations room sitting beside Cyril, and you're very intently staring at a laptop. So are you watching onboards? Are you looking at data? Are you studying the split times?
Yeah, so there's a few different things there. We've got the GPS tracking, so that's normally the key one. So all the cars are just little dots on the screen going around on the stage. So we'll see where they are live, and that's the first thing that will sort of pop up, and you'll get an alarm if any car has stopped on the stage. So that's the key one, to make sure they're still going and they're still going at a good pace, and nobody has stopped. Because as soon as we see one of the guys stop, then we know very quickly it's going to be a replay on TV. And if the guys haven't started the stage, it's really important to try and feed the information back as soon as possible. So that they know where in the stage there could be an issue, or where in the stage there could be a car stopped. So we're constantly monitoring that. And then once the cars go live, we can't have any communication with them at all. So at that point, we're sort of watching the split times come in and see where they're ranking compared to the other guys, and trying to do the calculations in our head to see if we keep on what pace we're doing, whether we'll finish ahead or behind. And on the Sundays in particular, it's you're trying to manage the overall timing, the Sunday timing, and then the power stage timing. So to see sort of how many points you're going to get. So while the power stage was live, we were in a close fight with Adrian and Elfin for Super Sunday and power stage points. So and then Elfin was only sort of 9 seconds back on the road as well for the overall win. So it was sort of checking the split times, making sure he hadn't made any mistakes, making sure he wasn't starting to drop time, because it's always the first thing you see. If you drop a small amount, maybe 2 or 3 seconds, then you may not get another split for 4 or 5 kilometers, and the next one's crucial. Whether he's just made a mistake in one corner, or is it a slow puncture, or has he damaged the car? So you're always sort of trying to guess and understand what's going on whenever you don't have sort of all the information there.
And what a lot of people probably wouldn't be aware of, there was a bit of a drama for White's Pace Note crew on the way to stage 3.
Yeah, so Friday morning the conditions were really tricky. There was a lot of low cloud and fog, and the RNCs have a really tough weekend, to be honest. So they're going. I don't know. Their alarm clocks must be going off at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to get out on the road to go and recce the stages and then try and feed the notes back to the crews before they go onto the stage. So, I don't know. It must have been 4 or 5 a.m. and unfortunately they were involved in a crash on the road section, and it's just a single vehicle car, or single vehicle collision that went off the road, and thankfully they're both okay. Although Kuldar was hurt quite badly, so we had to go to hospital, and thankfully the team were able to make some arrangements and talk with the FIA to get a backup in at very short notice, and Ken Thorne, who was the driver of the car, was just about able to continue. So he was able to do a really good job over the weekend, and it was nice for Ott and Martin to sort of repay that that faith, and were able to get the victory, because I think those guys have had a really tough weekend, and it goes for all the RNCs. It's super important, those guys, the job they do, and Seb alluded to it as well on whenever he went off the road on the penultimate stage, because that was the one stage over the weekend that the RNCs weren't allowed on just because of how tight the timings are on Sunday. So you could see what happens if they don't have that information. It's really easy to make a mistake or misjudge the corner.
Yeah. I mean, that was very, OJ attributed his issue mainly to that.
Yeah, exactly. And we had some of our Medio crew, so sort of before the rally, between the drivers and the Medio guys at Hyundai, they'll pick a few places that they think are really important to get some photos and weather information between loops and after the first pass. And thankfully, our guys were right at the start of that stage where OG went off. So our drivers were able to get the photos through, and were able to see the corner and see how it developed from the first pass. So it's a really important part of it. Unless you get that information or you have the information from the RNC, you don't know how much gravel has been pulled out, and you're sort of judging it by eye. And it's at those speeds, when you're right on the limit, it's super easy to make a mistake. And you can see that from a multiple world champion there. And still credit has to go to, I think, Ott and the team. We were able to put the pressure on. Normal circumstances on a Sunday, in that sort of rally, somebody like Seb could have had quite a big lead, and then you wouldn't have to take those risks. So ultimately we put him in a position where he had to sort of go for it and had to push. So thankfully, we were able to get through unscathed. And unfortunately for Seb, he managed to make the mistake there.
And I was surprised to see at this late stage in the season, plus also with Pirelli's supplier contract coming to an end at the end of this year, that they actually produced a new version of the P0 tire for the Rally 1 car. So obviously you're still getting a lot of support from Pirelli, even though that it's their contract is running out. Yeah,
they've been pretty good the whole time. We still have support engineer on event as well. So we've had quite a good working relationship with Pirelli, I think, the whole time. And this weekend in the end was quite relatively straightforward. The softs were predominantly the prepared tire up until Sunday, and the Toyotas went for a slightly different package there. They took 3 hards and 2 softs, whereas we were on 4 softs and 1 hard. So I don't know if it was necessarily talked about much. I wasn't following the TV coverage all of the time, but that created an interesting dynamic as well, and it meant that Ott was really comfortable first stage and Sunday morning to really push and try and build a bit of a gap, and that then put the pressure back on the other guys, and the hard tires as well take a little bit longer to heat up. So it's hard to say whether that had any influence on what happened with Sammy or Seb. They hadn't driven on the hard tire all weekend, and then they went and used it on Sunday. So that could have played some part, not feeling comfortable in that tire, and that was certainly something that we thought about as well. You need to really get it up to temperature before the stage, and in the cuts, or if you're on the grass or whatever, it drops temperature quite quickly, and getting it back up takes a bit more time. So the balance shifts a little bit there too, and that's all part of it. We knew we were probably going to lose out a little bit in the power stage because it was quite clean, and that time of the day the temperatures were going up as well. So yeah, that's why Andreas was able to take a slightly different package to Ott and Thierry as well, because he could prioritize the power stage a little bit more too.
And then looking ahead to next year, development work is taking place on the 25 car. How is that progressing? Do you feel confident you can iron out some of the issues on the car, especially around how it handles in the gravel?
Yeah, I think generally it's going quite well. The car's done some mileage already, and starting to, build that durability and validate some of the key components there. So I think everything's been submitted to the FIA now as well, and the ball is rolling, and it's exciting as well to see how things progress and see how big the changes are. Certainly the feedback so far from the guys driving has been really positive. So for sure it's going to have a slightly different operating window. So we need to spend some time to fine tune the setups to make it work, and to get it right in a good window, and that will take a little bit of time too. So we need to try and do as much of that as we can in the testing, and try and come to the rally as well prepared as possible. But I think so far it's pretty positive. I think there's some bigger changes now coming as well. If the vote goes through and they get rid of the HPS, the hybrid system for next year, I think they're going to drop the weight a bit and potentially reduce the restrictor size too. So suddenly it's not just the Evo car, you're also getting rid of the hybrid, and that plays quite a big role in, to be honest, a lot of the car handling. It's not just a hybrid system that is you get your boost and you get your regen. It's also the weight there, and the position of the weight influences the handling quite a lot, and how the hybrid comes and goes at certain points can also influence the handling, and can have an effect on the differentials and other parts of the car, and also even as simple as the driver's feeling and the different dashes that he has for his lights, and so there's a lot of additional complexity there that's going to be sort of taken out. So if that all goes through, it's going to be interesting to see how that has an effect on everything as well. And we need to really try and prioritize the testing as much as possible, and it's going to be interesting to see what we can sort of validate and maximize to the performance, because there's certain areas it's quite clear that the Toyota have still been a little bit faster, and that's where we need to really focus and try and maximize our performance so that we can still be in the fight for both championships next year, especially if Callie's coming back to the full season. That's not going to be easy.
Yeah, and again, if those changes do come in, you have a very limited window, because Monte Carlo isn't that far away, really.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't even mention the change of tire supplier too, so that adds another additional factor into the mix. So it's really going to be it's like a whole new rules cycle almost, with all the different changes going on. So what we learned through all of this year, the relevance may not be so clear next year. So it's going to be a learning game, and we need to just be really on top of things and trying to maximize as much of our testing time as we can, because like you say, I think it's going to be difficult to find a good window for the car straight away. It's going to take a few events and a few of the similar types of events before you can really find a good setup and maximize it. So it's going to be busy next year.
The weekend saw the Central European Rally, the latest round of the WRC, and Josh McErlean took a fantastic result, just outside the top 10 overall. But two men that helped to make that happen, Desi Henry and Shane Byrne, were doing gravel crew for him. Desi, you've often talked about before, Josh, in the back of the van from just for 10 events. Even before that, you in the back of the van whenever Owen, Josh's father, was doing events. This is turning the circle another degree as well. Going out there and doing gravel notes for, this young guy coming up and the latest hot shot in the WRC. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I was delighted to be asked to go over with Josh. As we were saying there a minute ago, Josh has been doing gravel notes there for a few years for us there now, so he's sort of cashed in all the chips there at the weekend. So so we left last must have been last Wednesday morning. But no, look, it was a new experience for myself and probably Shane there as well. Seeing it from the other side. Obviously, look, I have a major interest and Josh and trying to get him to progress in the sport. I think Malcolm's had all the time in the world to call me, and he hasn't called me yet. So we'll hope the same could happen. We'll hope that maybe Josh can have a bit more success. So no, it'll be interesting to see how he progresses. He's had some really good runs in the gravel this year. Obviously, this is the first proper rally he's had in tarmac in the Skoda. So no, I think it was overall a good weekend. But sure, we can talk about that as we go on.
Yeah, and like Shane, from your point of view, getting the opportunity to go out and sample, the WRC stages, maybe not ideally, you'd love to be behind, in the car competing, but this is the next best thing.
Yeah, it's a good way to, I suppose, see it from maybe still a bit of pressure to do your job, but from a different side of it, it's kind of a different responsibility. A different, maybe adrenaline to it, if you want to call it, but it's, no, it was fun, enjoyed it, a lot of road miles, probably doing between 350 to 600 kilometers a day on the road. Just logistically, it's so spread out, you're going from Czech to Austria and Germany, but no, the stages were good, it was enjoyable being in them, because it's new terrain for us too, going through it, so yeah, it was enjoyable. Right, wee bit of planning on it just to make sure you have everything right, once you know where you're staying and that, you can plot or schedule your day from there, but Derek Brannigan was a good help to me there. That's just one of the good things about being in the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy, that I can always give Derek a quick ring, for a few questions, because I think Derek won't mind me saying he's one of the experts at that game. So no, it worked out well for us. So
yeah, because it's not even going to Cork. You might have kind of a rough idea of where you're going from you pull out of the hotel in the morning, you don't know where to go left or right. It's all brand new to you there as well.
Well, I can't pronounce some of them German signs. Maybe Desi's a bit better to me, but it's what you say.
No, to be fair, hey, there's a lot of planning, and Shane did, to be fair, before we left the house, said I don't know how many hours he put into planning and scheduling and making sure we're in the right place at the right times. And really, it takes all that preparation. Things are so tight when you get there, and the times to get from one stage to the next. Making sure you're at the right place at the right time, so you can give obviously the crews the best possible chance. Is very, very important. So no, I think from his side he's done a good job on getting that. I would say Shane maybe knew more about that rally than some of the crews actually competing in the rally. So, but no, that's all needed.
Because Shane, this is the WRC. There's no kind of nod and a wink. Everything has to be done correctly. There's no, sure, go on ahead, lads, you'll be grand there. Everything has to be done to the letter of the law.
Yeah, I suppose he just treated it, I suppose, like any rally at home, just going through the regs and that. And I suppose, like, if Desi asks a question, I have an answer like that, or what time we leave in the hotel at in the morning. And now saying that he didn't like some of the start times, fair enough, 5:15 and that, but we got on with it. But I like when you were allowed to get in for the second pass, sometimes you'd have maybe a bit of free time in your hands, but just in case maybe there was an accident in the stage, you're always as well to just try and be up, maybe watching the start line. That's what Derek was saying, just to be sharp on that, just in case you needed to get in quick, rather than maybe being 4 or 5 miles down the nearest town, or maybe watching a stage. But no, there was no issues getting into stages, bar the last one. It ran marginally late, but we were actually the first route note car in, so we got a clean run on it, But no, it's everything's ran fairly sharp on time over there, so no, we had no issues going into stages. So
and Desi,
you have to plan too for the still element. You have to still plan for the unexpected. Like we actually came across. You might have seen the article there in Dirtfish this evening. Ott Tanak's one of their gravel crew had put the car over the hedge on the way to the first stage. We actually came across that morning, the car lying in the ditch. So luckily, well, we didn't have time to stop, so we just headed her on. But no, but I'm only joking. The crews were ready, the medical crews were ready with them. But no, it just shows you how you never know what can happen, and you have to allow as much time as you can. But no, certainly very early morning and late nights. But no, it's all part of the experience. So it is.
And we've seen, the use of anti-cut devices over there, because we've seen before the massive cuts these guys take, and we said before we started, if there was any place at all that they could put a wheel in, they were doing it, and they were taking full advantage, using every inch of the road.
Yeah, I think it's the nature of them rallies over there. Obviously, I have limited experience of them rallies. I've done Ypres a few times, but it's the same thing. If there's any room at all to fire a car in, the car's in. And that brings about its own challenges, not only for the driver and navigator, but for car setup and making sure that you can actually deal with them as and when it comes. But the more cars you go over it, obviously the worse it gets. So no, there is a knack to driving on them conditions, and I think obviously that would only come with experience and doing it. But I think this year was maybe perhaps a bit cleaner than last year. They've introduced a lot more anti-cuts. But look, at the same time, there were still lots of gravel and mud being pulled out. As I say, even you might have a case where you had an anti-cut device early in the corner and one late in the corner, and the boys are actually cutting then midway through the corner. No, which makes it difficult from a pace notes perspective. But no, it was interesting, and I say even when you went during the rally, you had the 3 different countries, which brought 3 different types of tarmac, 3 different types of terrain. It just looked like maybe 3 different rallies as you crossed the different borders. But no, it was definitely an interesting challenge.
And you said about even the midway through a corner, when you're doing the first pass, is the gravel crews taking that cut as well? Or, are you seeing where the cuts is, or do you have to kind of try and predict where those cuts will be?
Yeah, you sort of have to go on anywhere that the crews call their notes. You're basically following their identical notes. In some cases, you maybe even get on a wee bit further to make sure if they did nip a wheel in that there's nothing on in there. But no, certainly that is, I suppose, the role of the route crew to make sure that there's nothing on there. But the stages do change, from pass to pass quite a bit. We would have seen maybe in the morning the stages could have been damp and greasy, and then they would have maybe dried up a bit in places. And you'd also gravel mixed in the middle of that. So no, there was quite a bit of changing from stages. I think there's one of the stages we actually had to do 3 times on the Friday. I think it was Kotova you call that one. But no, there's a lot of work, even from my side, but probably more so on Shane's side, getting all that information marked down, changed from the previous passes. You're adding some information in and you're taking some information out. But I suppose it's not even about trying to mark all as to try and slow the driver down. It's as much about trying to speed them up where conditions do improve. Because at that level, there's no room to slack off or where you keep the foot down. So it's trying to see all them areas where there is maybe a wee bit of time to be gained, or whether maybe there's places you have to come back again. But and from like a Josh and Fuzzy's perspective, them boys maybe recce'd that on the Tuesday or Wednesday, maybe not on that Sunday. They may have recce'd it in dry or damp conditions, and then when they got to the stage, it could be complete opposite. So they are relying solely probably on the information they're getting back from obviously the route note crews and the maybe Pirelli technicians that's been over the stages that morning, or the Meteo crews, which I think they had maybe 2 or 3 crews out on the stages. So no, everybody sort of had their own job, and it sort of all comes together. And no, luckily we got them back in one piece.
And Shane, you talked earlier, it's a different kind of pressure. That's a lot of weight on your shoulders too. That you're recording everything that Desi's telling you, and doing it in such a way that you're going to be able to give this information into to Josh and Fuzzy as well.
Yeah, I suppose just you're out in the World Rally Championship, and not everybody gets an opportunity to do that, and so you just go out. You want to do your best for them, and like sometimes you'll be looking at what first car is due out. You maybe say service the morning, and you'd be like, there are 3-minute intervals to the Rally 1 and 2, then for the Rally 2s, but you'd be basing Josh and Fuzzy's time to see, could you get into the stage a bit later and still maybe have time, because sometimes, as Desi says, with the 2 anti-cuts in the corner, it can be quite hard to describe, post, cut, out and rounded. So we would be like obviously we're recording the stages too, but along with putting in the notes, sometimes the road section will be in the laptop, just recording it and sending it into them with the notes so that they're not trying to figure out. It's just to leave as less work on them as possible. Just let us kind of patch it together for them. And it worked good. It was tight for time at times, because there was a lot of corners like that you had to put together. Or if there was maybe a moment at a certain location, you would try and get that screen recorded and try and find their notes in the stage and put it together and show them. And if they wanted to maybe add something to it, but just trying to give them as much information as you could. So...
Because Desi, it is, you kind of alluded to it earlier, it's what to add or what not to add sometimes, because yourself, things can happen in an instant, but you don't want to overcomplicate it, but then at the same time you don't want to miss something.
Yeah, I think that is the knack in it, is trying to put in the right information. I say trying not to slow the boys down too much, but at the same time, you have to get to the finish. That is the key. There's no point in going through the whole thing and marking everything okay and then go over the first ditch that that you see. So no, I think that is the thing to it. And at that level, you've all the boys. It's the best in the business. The best teams, the best cars, the best drivers. And there's no room to slack off. No, to be fair, I think Josh dealt with the conditions very, very well. Other than maybe one overshoot, he didn't put a wheel wrong all weekend. Not a puncture, not a. There's really nothing. It was a real clean weekend from his side. So I think, given the amount of carnage there was, particularly on the Friday and Saturday morning, I think you had probably most of the Rally 1 cars all had some sort of moments or offs. So for Josh to get around and having none of that and still, been on a good pace was definitely an achievement from his side.
For sure. And even, this is probably a silly question, but you're sort of recording these changes and the information you just want to relay to them. How do you go about that? Is there a physical handover, or is it done online, or how's that done?
Me and Shane's going to sell the rights to this here.
So, say it here first. We were trialing. Desi came on an app there that we're using for the last couple of rallies, just done electronically, and pace notes are scanned and just emailed to whoever needs them individually. And you can just view them and edit them in live time. So I think the boys might have tried it in Cork maybe, but we've done it out there. It worked good. You need signal regardless. So I suppose if you're sending pictures off the hardback copy of pace notes, you need internet of some sort, and it's the same electronically. So done a few trials between when they were out there and when we were here, and it works. So just be sure to change the colour of the pen for each pass, Because
Desi, I never even think of that. Yeah, because the changes you make from the first pass and then the second pass, you can't scribble out what you've already changed. It has to be a clean sheet again.
Yeah, well, all of it, you have to make it as easy for the crew as possible to understand what the changes has been. So you could have had a section that was wet in the morning that's now dry. So you have to obviously score out that section in a different colour of pen so that they know. And even as the stage develops, you might have a bit of mud or gravel that wasn't there in the first pass. So it just means when the crew's looking at it, they might have 10 minutes before the stage that they can very, very quickly identify how the stage has changed from the first pass that they done on it. So no, it's really just about trying to keep it as simple and as clear as you can for the crew. That's the way we do it. There's so many different ways of doing it. Some people will be photoing the notes and WhatsApping it through. I don't know if you've seen there, Toyota put up a wee sort of short documentary on how they do it, where basically they have crews that basically meet the route note crew at the end of the stage. I can't mind what the name is for them, Shane. But
runners.
The runners. They're the runners, so they actually go and meet the crews out on the road, hand them another set of notes with all the changes on it. So no, we like to think that we're a bit more advanced than Toyota at the minute.
Setting the trend.
setting the trend.
And then I suppose the next sort of my head goes to, what Josh and Fuzzy done at the weekend, as you said earlier there, clean run and setting phenomenal times. We probably don't appreciate just how good this is, because this is his first year in the Skoda, only a handful of gravel rallies, 5 stages in Cork and horrendous conditions. To do what he done there at the weekend, it just blows your mind.
Yeah, I think obviously Cork was supposed to be a bit of a shakedown for the rally because he only got a quick test before Central Europe, so it was really a bit of a waste of time as far as testing and trying to get a car set up because the conditions were nothing like what I had in Central Europe. So no, look, I think his pace was really good. Like on the Sunday, I think it was down to maybe 0.3 or 0.4 seconds a mile down on basically call it the best in the world in Rally 2. Against a Southern Works team. So no, I think it's certainly going the right road. And no, just all the way when you get down to that level, it just seems to be all the wee fine bits that you need to all put together to get to that, to that top pace. But it is certainly hard work when you see the amount of effort goes on out there, and how professional teams are, the number of engineers, technicians, everybody there, and all that information been fed in. It probably is a bit overwhelming just to get your head around, but no, I think he's dealing with it very, very well.
Yeah, and does it give you a new appreciation for well, first of all, what Josh is doing?
Yeah, I think anybody that sits back and looks at what's happening, it's some people would probably look at it and say, God, that's lovely out there driving rally cars every weekend or every other weekend. It is hard work out there. Them boys put in an immense amount of work. The teams put in an immense amount of work, and they have to, because if they don't, they'll not be competitive. So no, it's probably an eye opener to the amount of work that's actually put in, not only at the event but before the events and behind the scenes. But certainly anybody that thinks it's an easy job, it's certainly not at the level, at WRC2 level.
Yeah, and Shane, more or less same question to yourself. Has it given you a new appreciation to, the amount of detail, the amount of effort, the amount of, I's dotted, T's crossed that has to go on before you even set foot in these countries?
Yeah, even just being in the talk sport setup, there's just so much going on. There's so much information, and everybody's a job, and everybody's completely dialed into it and wants to do their best for the team. That's pretty cool to see it, I wouldn't have thought it maybe just never thought it was this big, but when you're out there, it's a massive team effort, from weather crews to the engineers, Pirelli, the teamwork and that, and it's everybody just pulls together out there. So
yeah. And Desi, I suppose come Galway next year, could we see a few of these things that you spotted last weekend being put into place, maybe for the for the Desi Henry Rally team?
Well, here you never know. You never know. I don't know what I'm doing next week. Never mind next January or February. So no, we'll take it one rally at a time. So probably is actually the next rally if all goes to plan. But no, here it's a long way away yet. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, huge thanks to Desi and Shane. We're always looking for that different angle to bring people, stories, what goes on behind the scenes, how do things just operate, the stuff you don't normally hear about. So it was fantastic to get that first-hand experience from Desi and Shane, having just literally come home from Central European Rally, and particularly in an event where it was, recognised how much of a key role the safety note crews play.
Yeah, because we've seen the performance that Josh and Fuzzy put in too. Outstanding. He has so little experience on tar really this year. To come away with 5th in the WRC too, it just speaks volumes for the talent the guy has.
Oh, look, absolutely. 11th overall. It's incredible result in a WRC event. Genuinely. Mm-hmm. And again, he's still settling into that Skoda. Yeah. He hasn't had it a year yet. No. It's amazing what he's producing in it.
Yeah, and some other great results for our guys as well out there.
Yeah, look, William and Liam did well. They had a couple of issues in the Fiesta, but it all came good and they had a solid result. And then don't forget, obviously, Aaron Johnson sent with Taka, back to form. Some fantastic times been set by Taka, and especially Sunday, like they absolutely blitzed it for what do you call it, the Super Sunday points.
That's for sure, yeah. And then Eamonn Boone and MJ, another great result for them as well. We know we spoke about them last week. Great to see there too as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, they had a great run out, and then don't forget Connor Wilson and Darren Curran as well. They, went out under Super Rally, went out of the event, but returned under Super Rally and finished the event, on Sunday, like again, clocking up experience.
That's for sure, yeah. And then that's just going to put everything down to the wire in Japan now in a few weeks' time, and that's just going to be Byrne disaster. One of the Hyundai drivers is going to win the championship, but the manufacturers is. Yeah, not quite tied up for Hyundai either. It's just, it's pretty much there, but we've seen before stranger things have happened in rally.
Listen, absolutely. Is Toyota competing at home too much pressure, or is it an extra incentive? You just don't know. And, it's OJ, it's Evans, and Taka. Like, there's no Cali Rovenpera for the event either. So, they couldn't rely on, their big guns to secure this either, so it's going to be touch and go.
That's for sure. And then before that, we have the finale of the BRC this weekend, and 4 crews going into the final round with a chance of the overall title, and 2 of them are our own guys as well too, which is absolutely brilliant.
Oh, listen, it's just incredible where it's at. Like, you have William and Liam going in there leading by a point at the moment, and then Keith and Mikey are in with a shout as well, just depending on how things come into play.
And then Oshin and Chris Ingram as well too, and with a chance as well. That would be great to see the title come this side of the Irish Sea, but there's no guarantees of it. And then then the junior BRC as well. A good few of our guys in the mix there. The Stellantis Cup, there's opportunities there. We are in a real purple patch of Irish rally at the moment.
Yeah, look, there's incredible, entry from our side of the water in the Cambrian, and look at the Rally Fours. Like, there's so going to be serious competition there at the weekend, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that all comes to play. And it is amazing how many of these championships, have gone to the wire this year, and many of the classes, and as you say, the Stellantis Cup as well. So it's all incredible to see. It genuinely is, and as we've said before, it just. The future's bright for Irish rallying.
That is for sure. But anyway, I spoke to Matt Cotton and kind of got his thoughts on the BRC this year, and looking forward to the Cambrian this weekend. Matt, we're into the finale now of the BRC this weekend, and fantastic. The way it's going down to the wire. 4 competitors going into the last round, all with a chance of winning the championship. I think it must be it really must be the dream for the guys behind the championship.
Yeah, I don't quite know where this season has gone, to be honest. It only feels like a few weeks ago we were in Garstang, and it was all the hype of a new season and new competitors and returning competitors and old champions, and it's been a hell of a year. I think for me, the surprise was how it escalated really, really quickly from when we had our stand at the Autosport show back in January. And we started to talk to a few people who were interested in coming on board. And then subsequently the announcement of, the media package that we had. And I think it was the snowball effect, really. Once 1 or 2 competitors started to raise their hands a little bit, I think it just got everybody else going. And by the time we'd started round 1, we had one hell of an entry, and a very, very exciting entry. I mean, dare I say it, for the first time since when the BRC came back in 2016, maybe it's probably been as fascinating as that. And then to fast forward 6 events, or 7 rounds if you count Ceredigian's 2, we're going into the very final round with just 1 point separating the top 2 and any one of 4 drivers winning the championship. I mean, you couldn't have written that. I don't think I would have written that if we were talking this time last year. I think, it's no secret that the Cambrian was a struggle for us last year. Taking nothing away from the competitors that were part of the championship last year, of course, but Adrian Formo's dominance just I don't know. I think there was a few people that said, "Well, we can't rival that, so we're not going to come and play." So it was great to have him, but equally, I would much take a season like this year than last year. You know, and it's very, very exciting. I'm not quite sure how it's all going to pan out on Saturday. I'll be honest.
No, because like there's no point even going into the various permutations of it, because like, you know, there's drop scores, there's this, there's that. It doesn't matter. Saturday we'll just have to play out and then get the fingers and toes and start counting.
Absolutely. I'm going to have a direct line WhatsApp to the championship manager, Rhys Tarrant, and every few minutes I'm going to say, you know, what is it now? What is it? What is it now? And he'll be bashing away on an Excel spreadsheet, you know, doing the permutations of the championship. Yeah, the championship's slightly complicated in terms of scores. You're right. There's drop scores to take into account. There's also points and a half for the final round. So it does make it quite interesting. But regardless, we still have any one of 4 drivers that can win the championship going into, you know, the last 58 miles of competitive action in the season. And that is pretty damn cool to me, to be honest.
Yeah, and what 58 miles as well. Some of the probably the finest stages in the country, if not the world. You know, these are RAC stages. They are, you know, they are world stages. That the names are just household names for anybody that knows anything about rally.
Yeah, I think the last time I was on a Wales Rally GB, I think I was in Clocainog as I think it was shakedown then, might not even have been an actual stage. But yeah, I mean, Brennig, Alwen, Clocainog, Elsey, they're all just household names of Wales Rally GB of the past. And I think Cambrian is always a fitting end to the season. I think that, you know, Llandudno is a good host for that. The Promenade is always, you know, a nice place to crown a champion. You know, what great stages. I think what's possibly interesting for me, though, is that if you think about it, there would have only been really Ocean, Price and Keith Cronin, maybe not even Keith Cronin in latter years, maybe just Ocean Price, that will have had sort of relative experience of these stages, because Chris Ingram and William Crichton, it would have been a long time since they've been over those stages, and probably not in four-wheel drive machinery either. So I think it's going to be an interesting dynamic. I'm imagining the guys are doing a lot of homework, you know, over the last few weeks, watching a lot of onboards, getting their notes right, so that they can head to Recce and have a bit of a head start, I would think, on Friday. I think it's the perfect playground for the final round of the year, and I think it will be a great leveler as well, in a way, actually.
Yeah, because there's nobody has the, you know, bank of experience to call on either, you know, and that as you say, that just makes it the fight all the fairer.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we've got so many titles up for grabs this weekend as well. It's not just BRC1, it's the juniors, the Open, the National, BRC teams as well. And that was a fantastic addition this week. We've got Tom Cave coming back to the BRC for the first time in, God knows how long, 5-6 years, I think. And he's going to strengthen the Castrol MEM Rally team as well, because they want the team's title. But so do M Sport. Look what M Sport did at Rally Ceredigion in terms of bringing John Armstrong on board. It's got so many interwoven stories into the championship this year. It's really exciting, really refreshing. And
yeah, because that kind of nearly almost brings back the days of yore. You know, like Ford drafting in maybe like a WRC star. You know, and it just adds spice to the whole story.
Yeah, of course it does. You know, there are every little championship, every category has a real story to tell this year. It's not been a done deal. It hasn't been a foregone conclusion. Nobody has run away with anything. And I think that's fascinating. That, to me, you know, on a personal level, tells me that the championship is right. It tells me that the events are right. It tells me that the package is right. Because nobody is off into the distance. So it just shows that, you know, there's some real good competition out there. And at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants, you know. It's hard to see that maybe standing at the side of the stage. But, you know, when you come back and you do look at the permutations of the championship and the fight that everybody, you know, is up against, that's exactly what we need for a top-level championship.
For sure. And, you know, you talked about the mix of events. Yeah, we're a wee bit sad at the start of the year. You weren't visiting this side of the Irish Sea. But at the same time, this was a year of reflection. This was a year of taking stock, and the events really worked this year. The competitors and the BRC gelled together and come up with something very special this year.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no secret that Northern Ireland definitely has a place on the BRC calendar. It's part of the series, has been for forever. It just this year was all about taking stock. Not going back to basics, but at least just going to something a bit more solid that could perhaps capture the imagination of a new type of competitor or a different type of competitor, and that has worked for sure. Mm-hmm. And I think possibly by the time the series starts to build on what's happened this year, then it'll definitely be never say never, I should imagine. I mean, that's not my call. No. I will say that. Yeah. We have a championship manager who sits there working out the events in the calendar, but for me, I'd love to see an Ulster back in or some of the lanes in Northern Ireland for sure. But what we have this year has definitely worked, and it's had a good mix of events, good mix of mileages, and I think it's been one of the best BRCs that certainly I've been involved in for a while.
Yeah, because you've seen, when they went to Ceredigion against the cream of European rallying, the BRC, stood proud there, and it showed that the level is there as good as anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Hayden Padden was pretty untouchable there. He's a world-class driver, but there should be no shame at all in the BRC competitors and their stage times. Look at James Williams winning overall. Will Crichton was up there a couple of times. Chris Ingram was up there. It's just, it just goes to show that I think, Britain is still regarded in Europe. I think we often lose sight of that because, if you don't go outside of the UK, you kind of maybe forget it a bit. But having travelled into Europe over the past few months, it's still really highly regarded as one of the most important championships in Europe. And that's simply because it's one of the only few that has a mix of tarmac and gravel, and really strong tarmac and gravel events. And you don't get that very often in countries. They either concentrate on tarmac or they concentrate on gravel. But we have that mix. And I think that's really, really important to the BRC, that we continue to have a real strong mix of gravel and tarmac rallies.
Yeah, and the fact that you're allowed to recce the gravel as well too, which also is a very attractive feature as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely vital. If you look at the guys that are competing out front sort of this weekend, the likes of Keith, Oshin, Will, Chris Ingram and the likes, they need that recce. That is where their level is. It's just vital. It really, really is vital for them. So yeah, okay, everybody can have the rose-tinted spectacles and go back to the heyday and the WRC stars coming over to do BRC rounds. Maybe that might happen in the future, but for now, I think we're pretty happy with how this season's gone, and certainly what we've got in store on Saturday.
Yeah, and you talk overall, the juniors is going to go down to the wire there too. The Stellantis Cup, which has been a fantastic addition to both the BRC and the ITRC as well. That's unfortunately numbers have fallen off a wee bit, but the what's on offer there for the winner of that's going to be an absolutely cracking prize.
It's absolutely mind-boggling when you look at the junior BRC. I think it's only one of 6 drivers that can win in junior BRC. Mm-hmm. I mean, we haven't had that since, I don't know, like a Josh McErlean and William Crichton era, back in the old 208s when they were dicing back in, I don't know, what's that, 18, 19 maybe? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we haven't had anything like that since then. And then you've got the Stellantis Cup. You've got any one of 3 drivers that are going to win a package to go into junior ERC in 2025. I mean, yeah, everybody can sit there and criticise UK and Irish rallying, but I'll tell you what, when you look at it, it's pretty damn good, isn't it? What the opportunities are available. The likes of the Motorsport Ireland Rally Academy over there, the work that they do is just absolutely phenomenal. And then you look at stuff like the Stellantis that Ray Moore up at Racing Rally has put together to get those guys a stepping stone into junior ERC. I wish I was 18 again.
Yeah.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
And if I had that opportunity, okay, Rally 4 cars now are obviously a lot more expensive than cars that were going around when I was learning. But the opportunities are out there. They really are, and I think we should be quite proud.
For sure. Yeah, because the Rally 4 car is a great leveler. It doesn't matter whether you're a Fiesta or a Peugeot or Opel or whatever.
Yeah.
It is the crew that makes the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Look at the names that we've got. We've got the Grogans, the Lloyds, and even like the McHugh, Rahel. You've got Raftery. Honestly, it's just a hell of a mix in there, and it's really exciting to see. There's great camaraderie between them as well.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice to watch the guys and girls just flourish in that kind of environment. And again, Junior BRC is perfect for that because of its gravel and tarmac mix. So yeah, hopefully that's going to prepare anybody if they want to move on up into other things and ERC and the likes of. Hopefully that prepares them for that. But for the minute, we're quite happy to have them in BRC.
And then you said about the new media package this year. The ATV-X coverage or ATV4 coverage, that's just been propelled to a new audience. But even as well as that, yourself and Bex, it must be so much easier to spin the story now because you're not having to find the story that's not even there. The story's there every stage, every corner almost.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure you've seen Killian has one as well. We have a crib sheet at the end of the stage where you just write down all your notes and you have that with you before you go live. And I always look at that before a rally and you see the blanks. So the blanks are, you put the information in, but maybe you highlight them in a different way to the drivers that aren't yours. And last year it was a real challenge because you were seeing just a few names littered throughout the entry list on your first page, and then you maybe had to turn over 2 or 3 pages to get to all of your crews. This year it's been such a difference because most of the front page is filled with BRC contenders, so it makes such a difference for me. It flows a lot better. It's much more natural to be able to talk from one car to the next to the next to the next, and it just makes it much more enjoyable, and hopefully that comes across as well. And then of course you have the live package, the ITV package that goes out a couple of weeks after, and that's really that takes it to a very different audience, and that was always the thing from the very beginning. We said that this would be for everybody. This wouldn't be just for the likes of you and me who know absolutely everything about the sport, or we like to think we do, don't we? But we know a lot about the sport. We're ingrained in it. It runs through our veins. This is for people that might just stumble across this because they don't want to watch Emmerdale or Coronation Street on a Thursday night or whatever it is, and they stumble across this and they go, "Oh, this is really interesting. What let me find out more about that." So it has to be a little bit more simplistic, and it has to be put across in a way that perhaps is not how you or I would produce it, but actually it's for the masses, and that's the really important thing because we do need to take our sport to so many different people that are not you and I. No. We don't need convincing, it's everybody else. Yeah. So if you add everything up, if you add the social media, if you add the stage end coverage, and then if you add the ITV stuff, then it's been a pretty damn good year. I know a lot of people would want to see live on stage, but we can only do so much with the budget that we have. But it's been a cracking year, and it's been great to be a part of it.
Yeah, and this is the first step. This is not the finished article by no manner of means.
No, absolutely not. It's a multi-year deal, which is always encouraging, and there will always be steps, to be learnt from this. We'll always look at it. We always review it after every round, and we say what we can do better. And I think anybody that's watched every one of the coverage will probably agree with me when I say that it has improved all throughout the year. And that's encouraging. That's good. So, hopefully next year it will take another step forward, and it will be a nice mix of what everybody expects, and then something that the layman can understand as well. Because let's face it, it's not that easy to explain rallying. When you actually sit back and you think about it, you know, to explain to somebody that you can't actually tell who's winning by looking at a car is quite difficult. It's not like a circuit. So yeah, it's always going to be a challenge. But the guys that are involved in the TV are you know, well versed. Globecast are very, very good, and I'm sure they're going to rise to that challenge too.
Excellent. Well, Matt, best of luck to all the competitors this weekend, and it's been absolutely fascinating all year, and no doubt this weekend will be equally as fascinating.
It will be. I'm very, very excited. Everybody's going to have a calculator ready at hand to see who's going to do it. Hopefully, everybody's going to tune in, and we're going to be live across the entire weekend to find out and see who our junior and British Rally champions are, and Stellantis champions as well. Come Saturday afternoon. So, yeah, it's going to be very exciting indeed.
Thanks very much there to Matt, and really appreciate him taking the time. And himself and Bakes just really do bring something special to the stage end interviews. The banter they have between each other, never mind with the crews as well too. It's really good, you know. So best luck to all competing this weekend, and looking forward to see how it all shakes out. And so that is season 3, episode 45. Until the next time, take care, speak soon, and bye.